The Boston Celtics are finally ready for a championship. This team has been a threat in the East for quite a long time, and they've seen quite a few changes to the roster over the years. Including this offseason, they made some big moves that pushed them to a top 2 team in the East, now that the Bucks got a huge upgrade in Damian Lillard. This team first traded Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis, which some thought was a wrong move, losing Marcus Smart. But then, a few weeks later, they traded Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon for Drew Holiday, who fills in that Smart role perfectly. If not, it's even an improvement in that role. Now, this team was the deepest team last year, and it didn't work for them. Now, they made the Eastern Conference Finals, which is successful, don't get me wrong, but considering they were a finals team the year before, they definitely didn't live up to the hype as they were favorites to win the championship last year. Now, they are clearly moving to improve their top 5 players rather than their top 8 to 10 players like last year. Now, overall, their losses for this offseason were Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, Grant Williams, and Danilo Gallinari. All of these players played an important role for this Celtics team last season as well as last postseason, and the year before for most of these players. Now, their biggest loss was wing depth, and they haven't really gained that back yet. However, they did get some star power in Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. Now, this team has had a lot of changes over the years. In 2018, they had a very good team with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. Then they moved on to Kemba Walker, and then they moved on to Marcus Smart being their full-time point guard. Now, we've noticed there's always been constant changes at the point guard position. Now, Drew Holiday might be that piece they were missing. He fills the defensive role of Marcus Smart perfectly, as well as he is an upgrade on the offensive end. He is a better playmaker than Marcus Smart. He is a more natural playmaker than Marcus Smart as well. It comes a little more natural to him, as well as he is a better shooter and offensive threat than Marcus Smart. And some could argue Drew Holiday is the better defender, which I might be on that side. On to Kristaps Porzingis. He is a younger big man that can space the floor well for this team. He is also a back-to-the-basket big, which this team has lacked. Over the past few years, being contenders in the East, they have never had a big man that can put the ball in the net, especially down low. Now, Al Horford could fill this role at times. However, most of his shots came off catch and shoot threes or cuts to the basket for easy looks. He never really posted up himself. Now, Porzingis, being an offensive big man, brings huge things for this Celtics offense. For one, he can force his way inside to get easy twos, which this team never had a big man who can fight the ball inside. As well as, this will help the Celtics offense and prevent it from getting stagnant, which we've seen over the last few seasons. At times, they're a very high three-point shooting team. Their offense could get a little bit stagnant. Having Porzingis at the 4 or 5, who you can throw the ball to down low, and force the ball inside can prevent this from happening. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have never been paired with a big man that can score. If he can even average 18 points per game, which is low for him, it'll be a huge upgrade for this Celtics team, having a forward/center that can put the ball in the net. Another big thing was losing Malcolm Brogdon. He was the 6th man for this team last year, and he was the 2023 NBA 6th Man of the Year. Now, losing him in this role is big for the Celtics. However, I believe it is likely they bring Derek White off the bench to fill this role, and I think he can do great things in this position. Derek White is a starting caliber player on 90% of the teams in the NBA. For this team, the off-the-bench role will help the team be its best, as well as it'll give Derek White a chance to thrive with the ball in his hands. Now, he is a great player without the ball, and he fits well alongside star players like Tatum and Brown. He is very good at being overlooked by defenses and thriving in that role. He's a great team player who can crash the offensive glass, who can cut at the right time, as well as spot up when needed. He is also great at driving the ball inside for layups. That's when he is at his best. He will be a huge threat for other teams' defenses, with minutes by himself running the floor, as well as minutes alongside the starting lineup, which I don't think he should lose being in the six-man role. It might just go down a little bit. Now, speaking of defense, this team can still have a great defense without Marcus Smart and Robert Williams. They've been a top defensive team over the past few seasons. Now, losing these two can be big, but they might be able to fill that role in. They might drop a little bit on defense, but they definitely will be better on offense. For the Marcus Smart role, Jrue Holiday will fill that role pretty well as being the primary perimeter defender. And this team also has solid wing defenders and their star players in Tatum and Brown, as well as O'Shea Brissett and a few other players off the bench. Now, losing Robert Williams as a help defender and rim protector might be their biggest concern. Kristaps Porzingis is a good rim protector, but he's not as fast and athletic as Robert Williams, and he cannot help with the speed that he does. Porzingis is good at timing his blocks when he is there, but he's not good at taking 3 to 5 steps and coming in to block the shot from the weak side help. He's too slow to do that, a little bit slower than Robert Williams, but if the Celtics team can manage to put him in a position to defend the paint well, similar to a Brook Lopez role, I think he can thrive there. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about was the Celtics' depth. Obviously, last year they were a top team in the NBA in regards to depth. This season, however, they lost a few pieces to free agency as well as trades. So I want to look at their depth chart. At the point guard position, they only have about 3 point guards on the roster right now, which is average for most teams. However, only one of those players will likely receive minutes come playoff time. We have Jrue Holiday, of course, Peyton Pritchard backing him up, and Delano Banton as our third string point guard. Now, Peyton Pritchard could be a solid 6th, 7th man on this team. He is a bucket getter, and he's got a good shot. He could fit well alongside Derek White off the bench. And of course, the shooting guard position, we have Jaylen Brown, Derek White, as I mentioned, and Jay Scrubb, who's a young player in the league. He still has room to improve and show what he can do. It'll be interesting to see. This Celtics team now has a few younger guys who can kind of fill in roles during the regular season, but will likely lose minutes come playoff time. Now at the 3, we have Jason Tatum, Sam Hauser, and Jordan Walsh. Another rookie, Jordan Walsh, who does have lots of potential. He's a very athletic, lengthy wing. He could do good things on the defensive end, as well as he showed in college he has a pretty good offensive game. Sam Hauser is a good shooter. He's not the best defender. However, he's not the absolute worst in the league. And of course, Jason Tatum is an above-average defender at the wing position. Now, the 4 and 5 is where things get a little bit interesting. So Porzingis at the 4, they only have one backup at the moment, and that's O'Shea Brissett, who is a 4 and 3. He's a solid wing defender. He'll probably be this team's best wing defender, besides maybe Tatum and Jrue Holiday. And then behind him, they don't really have a third string right now. They'll have to move maybe Tatum or Sam Hauser or Jordan Walsh, some of these small forwards at the 4, which won't hurt too much, considering they have 2 solid big men in Porzingis and Horford, who both can play 4 and 5, which will make things a little bit easier for this team. Now at the 5 position, we have Al Horford and Luke Cornett, who was their third string last year, and he is well known for his 3-point shot contest. However, he is a really good rim protector, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do with some consistent minutes as a backup center. I think it's also likely they'll sign a third string center just to have during the regular season in case injuries from Al Horford or Porzingis, and just a third body to put on the floor in case someone gets in foul trouble. Now, they do have a pretty solid big man rotation. The only thing is they lack a little bit in the wing department, as I've mentioned multiple times. That is their biggest concern. However, it is very possible they'll move Jaylen Brown to the 3 and Tatum to the 4, and this can solve some of that wing depth problem. However, I'm sure by the time the season starts, they will bring in an extra body to take up some wing minutes. Anyway, the big takeaway today is this team's improved star power. They've clearly emphasized improving their top 4 players, And now they have 4 all-star caliber players on their team. All 4 of the players, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Porzingis, have all been all-stars at some point in their career. I'm 100% sure all 4 of them will not be all-stars this season. However, they do play at an all-star level, and at times, I'm sure everyone will have their game throughout the season and the postseason. Having 4 solid offensive threats is a big improvement for this Celtics team, as over the last seasons they've only had Tatum and Brown to rely on the offensive end, and they just relied on the team's elite defense to keep them afloat, especially when the offense got stagnant. Having these 4 guys can help prevent the offense get stagnant, as well as maybe make things a little bit easier and take off a little bit of pressure from Tatum and Brown, especially in the postseason. We've seen a lot of teams improve their star power this offseason. The Phoenix Suns, the Milwaukee Bucks, now the Boston Celtics. It's going to be quite an interesting year this season, and at the moment, the Bucks and Celtics are both favorites to win the title. However, they're both in the East, so the Eastern Conference Finals might be quite the interesting matchup. I'm excited to see. Leave your comments down below. Do you think the Bucks or the Celtics had the better offseason? I'd like to hear what you think. Anyway, that's all for today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like as it really helps out, and subscribe for more. Peace.